Zach, why did you have me watch this new witches movie, man? I mean, I don't know what Robert Zemeckis was thinking. I mean, the CGI, I'll give you, has gotten a lot better. You know, his motion capturing looks like pretty good, but I don't know, man. Anne Hathaway just looked so fake. I mean, she looked worse than Jim Carrey in A Christmas Carol. I mean, the skin was just so synthetic and just like, I don't know. What were they even thinking, man?
I'm surprised you watched it. I didn't. The Zemeckis remake is. We're talking about the witches, everybody, because this month on another visual podcast, we're talking about witch.
Wait, Zach, my joke was that it was a live action, wasn't it?
It was live.
Okay. Zach didn't get the joke.
No, I did.
I was saying that she was CGI when she wasn't CGI.
It's 9 a.m. Everybody.
Casey, did you get
I
the
met
joke?
her. I got the joke, yeah. I met her. I can assure she's real, though. Yeah. Halloween Town customer. Sold her some zombie flamingos. It was great. Good times.
On to the show, everybody. Welcome to another Mishbowl podcast, Horror Decomposed. My name is Zach. With me, as always, some call him terrible. I call him Professor Casey.
Hey, I'm like kind of awake like I was while I was watching this movie. So
You guys need coffee.
It's going to be interesting.
This is the most low key I've ever seen Casey.
I've got no energy today. None.
How many cups of
I'm
coffee have you guys
caffeinated
had?
too.
I've
This
had
is me
two.
caffeinated. So
I gotta go to a brunch after this, so I took a shower. I should feel refreshed. I don't feel tired. For whatever reason, Chris, your cold open just flew over my head, I guess. But here he is, Criterion Kid Chris, also with us.
I'm sorry the cold open wasn't good enough.
No, a cold open was great.
You don't patronize me, Zach.
No, I guess I literally thought you were just making a comment on the fact that Anne Hathaway had like a lot of makeup on in that movie, and
no, it was a Polar Express reference.
Listen, I would never genuinely.
I thought you were
dishonor
saying
Anne Hathaway, one of the most beautiful people on
like
the planet.
there was such a digital sheen on the movie that I don't know. I guess yeah. No, Anne Hathaway. It's not CGI. There is CGI in the movie, but it's live action. Okay.
I mean, it's
We'll
very
talk about
original
it
live action.
Oh my god, this is the most scrambled opening to the show ever. Okay.
Well, it's okay. I had scrambled eggs this morning.
Happy April, everybody. It's April 16th. I know these episodes are coming out at the end of the month. Again, I apologize for that. It's hard, you know. Chris is moving.
The
Casey's-
Titanic sank yesterday.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
The sun is now in my face.
You
Anyway,
were
this
so
month
overexposed.
I will try and fix it while someone else talks. But this month's theme is witches. So I kind of wanted to just, before we get into our feature scare today, I wanted to ask you guys, what was your first exposure to, I don't know, witches in pop culture? I mean, obviously, in general, we probably saw witch costumes on Halloween growing up, but like, do you have like a specific witch in mind outside of maybe the obvious, you know, Wizard of Oz, Snow White kind
I was
of?
gonna say it's got to be the Wizard of
those
Oz.
were one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw
I'm
that
not
movie
really
very, very
like
young.
a witch guy. I don't really have a favorite witch. I guess it's the witch mask in Halloween 3, which doesn't really count. Yeah, it would have been Snow White probably. That's like the one Disney movie I watched growing up, other than 101 Dalmatians.
I guess she's a witch. I don't think of Snow White.
I mean, it's the evil
I guess
queen
the
dressing up
queen
as a
when
witch.
she turns into a witch. I
Yeah.
don't know.
But it's still a witch.
guess
It's a witch
so,
costume. You know, I mean, like any like commercials or anything that jump to your mind that like you remember fondly with witches in your childhood, because there certainly are plenty of them. You know, I think for me,
I'm guessing you.
obviously, no. Well, I mean, obviously, like Wizard of Oz. Obviously, you go through your local stores, Halloween stores, whatever. You see witches. But I remember fondly, Are You Afraid of the Dark? Obviously, there were a lot of witches on that show. But there was one in particular that I remembered a lot. It was the episode where the kid gets trapped in a pinball game. Unbeknownst to him, he's trapped in a pinball game in the mall, and he's going up like these floors and defeating different, villains and things like that. Which great concept.
I don't remember this at all.
Oh, it's such a good episode, man.
Yeah, it is a really good one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's good.
It's like
really good.
I think it's Tale of the Pinball Wizard.
It's one of the earlier
I
episodes.
remember the title.
I think.
Yeah, I think it's
didn't
Tale of the
remember there was a
Pinball
witch in there.
Wizard. Yeah, there's like a kid and he's in a mall and he's like goes into this like dude store who he's sort of working for, kind of. And he has some pinball machines in the back that he's working on, but he's like, don't mess with those. And the kid's sort of a slacker, and then he starts playing with one. Then all of a sudden he's like, the mall is after hours and it's dark, and he has to. It's like a video game in the mall, and he has to go up different floors to progress. But anyway, there's a
you tell
witch.
It's a good
Kid not
episode.
to-
It's not a good mall. It's
You
totally
tell a
fake
kid not to
set
mess with a
looking
pinball
mall.
machine, and he's gonna mess with it. I mean, it's your own fault.
Yeah, the mall actually looks a lot like the Burbank Mall in certain scenes. I don't think it is, but it does.
No, they
it is
shot all that
reminiscent
shit
of it.
in Canada, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so there's a witch in that episode. Just your classic kind of black robe, green hair, nose, some warts or something. But classic kind of cackling laugh. But I remember that very fondly. So, even though I was probably, I don't know, 8 or something when I saw that on reruns or something. But that's certainly a witch I remember from my youth. I think there's a fine line with nowadays. There's kind of like, you have like your kind of cult worshippers who practice witchcraft, sort of. You have like things like Suspiria. You have your hocus pocus kind of standard stock witches.
Hocus Pocus.
So
I definitely
yes.
watched Hocus Pocus a lot, and
Yeah.
the what's her name? Sex and the City woman.
Sarah Jessica Parker. Yeah.
Oh yeah, she definitely made me feel things with her sultry song while striding a broom.
I think the difference between then and now is they're more careful about wanting to offend an entire religion.
Yeah.
So, witches are treated differently now.
That's a good point, Casey. Maybe that's why we don't see as much witch content anymore.
But
Yeah.
there isn't like,
In the U.S., you get a lot of foreign witch content. Definitely.
you don't get like the kind of practical magic, top hat witch, like live action anymore too much. It's not really, they're
Which
different.
is a
They're
shame,
portrayed
because that is
differently,
also a sexy, sexy movie. Can we talk about sexy witches on the next episode?
Maybe. I mean, growing up, you had like your Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and Casper meets Wendy, and your kid-friendly witches, and all the animated, and you had
Pretty sure
What
that
is it?
movie came out when Casey was 21.
Which one?
Casper meets Wendy?
Yeah,
I've
I've
never seen.
seen a Casper movie. I don't know.
it's Cold Stone classic, Casey. No, it's fine. There's what is the Halloween special with the witch? There's like a cartoon. There's a couple of them. There's the Tim Curry one.
Oh,
That's at a witch school.
It's the worst witch, which is great.
Worst witch. Yeah.
Which-
Yeah.
yeah. Which also, I feel like now that we are all pretty much firmly anti J.K. Rowling, I feel like we should encourage the creators of the worst witch to go after her and sue, because she clearly stole plenty of little ideas from that
Well,
special.
I mean, she stole a lot from books of magic as well, and Neil Gaiman was very nice and said that they just stole from the same source and that he didn't feel ripped off. But come on,
While he's
you
stabbing
got Neil
himself with a
Gaiman,
fork
you got
in his-
J.K.
in his
Rowling.
pocket.
So it's not a video podcast, but my Neil Gaiman hand is almost off the camera, high, and my J.K. Rowling is very, very low, almost off camera. Okay.
Well, speaking of problematic authors, the movie we're talking about today is an adaptation of a Roald Dahl book.
I don't know if you're talking about Zach.
He fucking hated this movie.
Nothing wrong with Roald Dahl. Well, he hated all movies.
It's true.
Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong with Roald Dahl at all. Let's
It's a
get...
shame his books are so damn good.
I know. All right, let's get to it. This is our feature scare today.
From the incredible imagination of Jim Henson and director Nicholas Roeg comes a fascinating new fantasy adventure. The Witches. For when a little boy accidentally stumbles into their secret world, he finds they've got a lot more power than he ever imagined.
Grandma, it's me, Luke. Luke! They turned me into a mouse. Oh, my. Who's the Grand High Witch?
Join Luke on his remarkable journey. Now, the witches are on his tail,
Whoa!
and he must scurry around their evil plots, squeak past every danger, finally setting the trap that will save the world from the witches.
You are in for a treat.
We must stop them.
Okay, so with our theme being witches, we thought long and hard about what witch movie we were going to cover. And it took us a long time, and we eventually settled on The
Before
Witch.
we said, fuck it, let's talk about the witches.
The most obvious choice.
No, it's not the most obvious choice.
One of them.
We decided that the Witch, and Blair Witch were off the table.
Yeah, well, I think the reason I like this, I think this is a fun movie to talk about because we can kind of delve into sort of our first experiences with like scary things in movies, and I think for a lot of kids that's like probably Disney movies and the villains you see in a Disney movie, your evil queen or whatever, and your
But
Jafar,
also probably
things like
Roald
that.
Dahl.
And Roald Dahl. And so this is, I think, kind of a first for like a young kids when this came out. I know this was certainly scary for me when I first saw it when I was younger. And this is back in this came out in 1990, so it was back in the age when family-friendly movies just did not give a fuck and didn't mind terrifying children around the world.
Well, in a fashion, because this director showed this movie to his kid and fucked him up really bad, and then ended up recutting the movie, and the scenes are lost forever.
I was gonna say what actually happened was he meant to show him this movie, but he accidentally showed him Don't Look Now, his other film, instead, and was like, oh god, didn't mean to show you that one. Whoops. I think the sex scene might have traumatized him.
So this is The Witches 1990. It's directed by Nicholas Roeg, who we were just talking about. He did The Man Who Fell to Earth, which has just been remade, Don't Look Now. And actually, as a cinematographer, he had some interesting work. He was, I guess, the cinematographer for Mask of the Red Depth. And a funny thing happened on the way to the forum. So, more notably for me, Jim Henson was a producer on this movie because Jim Henson Creature Shop provided the puppets for this movie. And this was also the final film Jim Henson worked on before his death, and Roald Dahl also passed away shortly after this movie came out as well. So,
The movie actually killed him. Just kidding.
because this is an adaptation of a Roald Dahl novel, as we were talking about earlier. And Roald Dahl, troubling author with some of his, let's say, anti-Semitic views. Let's say they were very anti-Semitic views. So. But this movie's about witches.
The man has an aesthetic.
He
His
does.
books have an aesthetic, which I appreciate.
I don't know. When was the last time you guys watched this movie before this week?
Fairly
I don't think I've
recently,
ever
actually.
seen it.
You'd never seen it, Casey?
No, I watched cool movies when I was a kid, so this came out when I
come
was
on,
10.
dude.
This is a cool movie.
No,
come on, man.
honestly, I get that you guys liked it. This was not for me. I got no enjoyment whatsoever or entertainment from watching this. And I mean, it's on my letterbox. You can see it.
This is a
What was
torturous
your
week
beefs?
for Case.
What were
Pretty
your beefs?
much.
What were your beefs, Casey?
I don't know. It was boring as fuck. Nothing happens the first half of the movie.
It is slow. It is slow for a kids movie. I will give you that. Like the first 25 minutes, which it takes them about 25 minutes to get to the hotel where the bulk of the action takes place.
The tacked on ending that was done due to a focus group.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's the worst
yeah.
thing about the movie.
I don't mind the ending personally. I don't know. I think it works, but like, it's one of the more memorable scenes.
It's not
in the
in
movie.
keeping with the rest of the movie, though.
Well, the book ends with him still being a mouse and them going to hunt down the witches and kill them. So,
Which would be a great idea for a sequel.
And which is literally what is in the movie if you just hit stop right at that point and then they tack the ending on.
Yeah.
So the original ending's still in the film. They just do another 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do got to say, we got to see the Ghostbusters firehouse playset at least. So that's cool.
Nice.
That's where he lived.
Oh, yeah.
A couple Ghostbusters toys in this movie. He-Man's in it. They kind of lie about one of the Ghostbusters toys, Bad to the Bone. He didn't make monster sounds and move mechanically like it does in this movie.
You didn't like the disgusting rat witch monster that gets horribly stomped on?
I mean, that was okay. Very Peter Jackson-esque instead
Yes.
of like Jim Henson. But
This feels like this feels like an early Peter Jackson movie in some regards. It feels like it was like shot in like New Zealand or something.
also, this movie influences one of the worst levels in Persona 5 that everyone hates, where you keep getting turned into mice. No one likes it. It's like the last set of levels in the game, unless you're going for the true ending, which you should be anyway. And this movie reminded me of that. No.
Well, Zach, since we have a different perspective, I'll let you go first. What is your like relationship with this movie?
I just remember it from my childhood as just being like, oh yeah, that witch movie that was aimed at kids but went really hard. And had some absolutely gnarly makeup that still holds up to me.
I remember a controversy. Parents were mad at this movie when I was a kid.
I mean, I can't blame them. It's
Right.
fucking gnarly. It's at points.
I mean, so the Grand High Witch makeup, I believe the sculpt was done by Stephen Norrington, who directed Blade, Casey.
Yeah.
So that makeup is fantastic. You literally see her like peeling her face off. You see like beneath her scalp, she still has like a wig on. It's really impressive. You know, this is before like the full reveal of like the face.
Even though as a kid, I was like, how the hell does that giant nose and face fit underneath? Even if it's like pushed in, how does that fit underneath Angelica Houston's face?
She had some complaints about the. I mean, it took about 6 to 7 hours to
imagine.
put on, and about 5 hours to take off. She complained about just like having all this makeup on. Like by the time it was on, and she's reciting her lines, she was like, "I didn't even know what I was saying." Like she was.
She does a good job though. She's like overacting her ass off.
And apparently, I've also read that the green mist that you see throughout this movie when like the kids are transforming is like oil based, and that was messing with like her contacts.
Oh, it looks
throughout the
toxic as
movie.
fuck.
Yeah, apparently it was.
You don't want to
Yeah, it
breathe
looks it.
oil-based fog in ever. Oh,
It is like
fuck.
thick, nasty fog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, they didn't hold back with these transformations. I mean, you have like this kid who's mid-transformation turning into a mouse. So if you don't know the witches at all, the basic plot is a young kid who he's staying with his grandma. Early on in the movie, he finds out his parents are killed, and they like take 30 seconds to get over
Yeah,
that.
how? Oh,
In a
he
car
doesn't.
accident.
He doesn't mind at all. Like there's a scene where he comes in and like comforts his grandma because she is crying because her son and his wife have just died, and the kid is just like, "Cheer up, grandma, it's cool." He doesn't seem to mind that his parents are dead at all. They must have been.
Man,
beating
they
the
were
shit
kind
out
of
him.
dicks.
That element is covered better in the remake. I will say that's one area that the remake I think improves upon.
He's just like, cool, I get to live in Europe now with my chill ass
Which,
grandma who tells me
In the
horror
book,
stories.
it's like, this is the worst thing that ever happened to me. How am I going to do this? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Different.
So in the meantime, she's telling Luke, who is the boy, one of the Lost Boys in Hook, by the way, played by Jason
Yeah.
Fisher. This is before Lost for Hook. The grandma, played by Maya Zetterling, she plays Helga
I was like,
Isham.
I bet she's been in an Ingmar Bergman film, and I looked it up, and definitely she has. It's definitely right.
So there's all this lore about witches, and they're hidden throughout the world. They wear long gloves. They have purple eyes, which I thought was a really effective element in this movie. The purple eyes.
Somehow no one has ever gone, what the hell is wrong with your eyes, to any of these women?
I think it only like comes out at specific moments when they
Light
it's not
has
so
to hit
real
it
when
a
they're
certain
yeah.
way. They
So
said,
it's not
yeah.
like But I think that was really effective, and an element that they removed from the remake for some reason, which is it was one of the I think the more affecting parts, like scarier elements of the witch
They
costumes.
were like,
the
nah, that's
purple
too
eyes.
hard to do.
Like you're already doing everything CG. Anyway, so it's a very long, drawn out kind of introduction to witches. She talks about a young girl who disappeared when she was a child, like her best friend, and you kind of see this haunting. The girl apparently is like trapped in a painting or something, and so you see her in a painting, and like she ages in this painting as his grandma's telling the story.
Terrifying.
And yeah, very creepy. That element is removed from the remake. In the remake,
What?
in the remake,
I lied, by the way. I didn't watch the remake.
in the
That was just for
remake,
the bit.
Octavia Spencer, who plays their grandma, and she's great, is telling the story of her very young grandma. She's too young to
Is
be
she a
playing
hot
grandma.
grandma? Is she Aunt May in Spider-Man: Homecoming? Hot grandma? It's okay, Zach. They're hot grandmas.
Anyway, so she's
I'm in my mid-30s now.
Octavia Spencer. So she's telling the story about her best friend that disappeared, that was killed by a witch. And in her backstory, this little girl, not trapped in a painting, but was turned into a rooster. So you see a couple of mid-transformation shots of her
How
friend
terrifying.
being turned into a rooster.
Yeah, the book has a lot more kids getting transformed into shit and then killed. There's a bunch of toad kids that get eaten. Yeah,
So they were trying to stick closer to the book.
I think so.
It feels sillier. I mean, the remake is set in like 60s, like right post segregation Alabama, like just post apparently. So there's some like racial undertones of that throughout the movie.
Which is just what a doll adaptation needs. Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's not really explored. Just when they go to the hotel and like the black bellhop like picks them up, he's like,
Wait, is the grandma Octavia Spencer in the remake?
yes, yeah,
Oh, well, there you go.
yeah. But like when they go to the hotel because they're trying to like escape these witches, and of course they go to the hotel where all the witches are staying at, which is just very convenient in both of them. But like the bellhop like goes to like get their bags, and he's like, "Oh, you're," basically his reaction is like, "Oh, you're black too," and so they, there's sort of like a surprise on his face because their clientele is mostly very rich, white privileged.
I'm suddenly
individuals.
liking the remake more because it's Lovecraft countrying Roald Dahl and his
Yeah.
problematic nature.
Yeah, whereas the original is like set in Britain, basically.
Yeah.
And, I think their grandma's like in Norway.
And
or
the
something,
grandma's definitely got Nazi in her. Like she, like her dad was definitely a commander who was executed for war crimes.
Back to the original. So the grandma, is telling the story about her childhood friend that disappeared, just scaring the shit out of her grandchild. And then, like, a little bit later, he has an encounter with a witch, like, while he's in his treehouse, and this witch is, like, trying to give him candy, and, like,
Hey.
here's a cute little snake. And
Hey,
that'll
she
get you to
saved his
come down.
life. She saved his life. He knew immediately what was up. He did not come out of that tree. She saved his fucking life.
He was not messing around with that witch. In the remake, that scene is like in a convenience store, and it's
Because
the
if
woman
I'm
who
10
also
years
has a
old and
snake,
some
but
like
it's-
middle-aged lady just like offers me some chocolate, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll have some chocolate.
Yeah. So, but it's an unsettling kind of scene because it's just I don't know. It's quaint, it's quiet, but it's effective.
Well, anytime you're dealing with like potential child abduction
Yeah.
and child murder, there's another element of like, I don't know if it's intentional commentary. I don't know what Roald Dahl was intending with this,
Yeah.
with the story. I think Nicholas Roeg definitely was thinking about it, but yeah, there's definitely another element there that's factor.
So the grandma is sick. I think she's like early like diabetes, like
She got diabetes.
and so I think the doctor says get closer to the beach or something.
Because that's what you do when you have diabetes. is You
Get
have to
outta
go to the
here.
beach.
Go to the beach.
Go to England for some nice air.
Why not? So just don't have the saltwater taffy. So they go to this hotel, and of course, the witches are there,
What a coincidence.
and that's where we see Angelica Houston. And man, what can you say about Angelica Houston in this movie?
She's super horny in this movie, that's for sure. She's like playing up a sexual element to her character.
Well,
That is very weird.
Maybe it has to do with the fact that she was she was dating Jack Nicholson at the time, who was giving her flowers, like, while this was filming, like, sending flowers down to her.
I mean, she was dating Jack Nicholson for like 50 years or something.
Yeah, she dated Nicholson in like the 70s, I think.
I don't know. I didn't know when they started dating. I just know that was like, it's like a little trivia fact that Jack Nicholson was sending her flowers during the filming of this. So we also see Rowan Atkinson, who plays the he's the hotel manager, and I totally forgot he was in this, but he's always fun when he's on screen.
Yeah, I always forget he's in this, and I see him, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Good.
That's right. He does nothing funny or Rowan Atkinson in the whole film.
Unless
He's
you
very
just find
reined
his,
in.
I find his like disgruntled face funny. I mean, that's all he really has to do. So that's really all he does to the movie is just look disgruntled and annoyed.
Yeah, he just
which I find
grunts
funny.
at the kid a little bit and makes a face. Yeah.
If only it had been, though, missed opportunity to have this played by John Cleese and just make him Basil Fawlty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the witches are under the guise of they're pretending to be a society that's for the prevention of like cruelty to children and something to that extent. Great disguise. So I do love the Coven of Witches in this movie, and this is an area where the remake really falls flat because in the remake they're basically just very robotic, fall in line to Anne Hathaway's character, who's very over the top and doing her best to match Angelica Houston's performance in this film. But in the original, a lot of the witches have personality. You see the witch that originally tried to corner Luke. But like you go into this, so Luke has like a couple pet mice that his grandma gave him as, I guess, to cope with the death of his parents. And so he wants to go play with them in this big conference room in this hotel. And so he's messing around with these mice. And all of a sudden the witches file into this conference room. Rowan Atkinson is showing them the space and they're like, okay, get out. We've got shit to do. This is a very must be like a 15-minute scene. Angelica's like, okay, remove your wigs. And,
it feels like half the movie is inside this conference room.
It's a great scene. It's a very long scene because they have multiple things to accomplish in this scene. So we're also introduced to a kid named Bruno who likes to eat chocolate and desserts, and
He's
I feel like a lot of this.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this movie was dubbed, which I get with why they dubbed like Angelica Houston with her makeup on and stuff like that. But the kid is so dubbed, and it's so bad.
He's dubbed for parts of it for sure, yeah. But I do really like this scene in the conference room. The whole reveal is great. You're having the witches all remove their wigs. Meanwhile, Luke is watching this from behind a freaking a thing you dress behind. Anyway, yeah. I'm sure just shitting his pants. And you have all these witches. Witches who apparently do not have any toes. That's another trait of witches in this world. No toes. They're all bald, which is not like a classic witch trait. And it's interesting that that's a feature in both of these movies, is that the witches are bald. But it adds to the effect.
You think instead of creating a magic potion to help them kill children, they would create a magic tonic for their horrible rashes on the top of their heads.
Yeah. Boils
get some cream in there.
So, we see Angelica Houston's full prosthetic makeup here, and it's pretty gnarly. And so her plan, because she's very unhappy with the witches, as soon as one speaks out, she turns her into dust. And because she sees kids everywhere, she's like, what the fuck, guys? We're supposed to be killing kids. So her plan is, we're going to open candy stores across the world, and we're going to lace it with this little potion I made that's going to turn them all into mice. And then, exterminators will do the rest, basically.
And she also kills not kills. She kills one witch for doubting her, but she also admonishes another witch for being like, yes, that's right, we'll poison them. And she's like, poison? You idiot! We'll get caught if we poison them.
Yeah.
No, we're going to give them a magic potion that'll turn them into mice. And it's like, oh, okay, well, that won't get you caught. No one's going to notice that all the kids who are eating the candy are turning into mice. Yeah. Or all the adults. Because they even say, what happens if an adult eats the candy? And she's like, that's just too bad for the grown-up. And it's like, I feel like a lot of grown-ups eat candy. Just as much as kids do.
I eat lots of candy.
I eat candy all the time, so I'm sorry.
Who dares to argue with me? It was you?
I didn't mean to argue, Your Grandness.
You dared to argue with me?
No, honestly, it just was a...
Is stupid witch who answers back must burn until her bones are black.
No, no.
A foolish witch without a brain must sizzle in the fiery flame. A bitch who dares to say I'm wrong will not be with us very long.
To kind of demonstrate this, she gave this Bruno, like, I think a piece of chocolate earlier and said, I have more chocolate for you or whatever. Come to this conference room and I'll give you like 5 ounces of Swiss chocolate. So Bruno comes in there whining about wanting this chocolate.
His transformation is pretty cool.
It reminds me in part of like the scene in Big Trouble in Little China where the fat guy, like, smoke is blowing out of his nose and he's like bulging out.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of...
I was going to say a lot of the weird effects in the Joe Dante segment from Twilight Zone, the movie.
Yeah.
Just a lot of like smoke.
Yeah, the rabbit's
Weird
very
angles.
similar to the rat transformation of Angelica Houston, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually they sniff out Luke because clean kids smell like dog shit to witches. Makes sense. And so they sniff out Luke. They turn him into a rat. He escapes along with Bruno into this vent, and then his pet mice are there too. Anyway, they get back to his grandma's room without too much issue. And they quickly hatch a scheme to get the potion and put it into soup because the witches are going to have a big grand dinner. And they go to... Angelica Houston is conveniently, her room is right beneath the room Luke's grandma is staying in. So Bruno doesn't do shit. Luke
Yeah,
goes
Bruno kind of sucks.
he's a little more active in the remake, but I think that was one of my issues, is that there needed to be a little more conflict. Like maybe Bruno gets caught like when he's trying to get this potion. And so the finale is like, not only do I have to put this potion in the soup, but we have to save Bruno. But no, Bruno is just kind of,
It's fine.
not doing anything. He's just eating food. So yeah, Angelica Houston has a cat. He escapes the cat, those kind of shenanigans. He gets the potion. Angelica Houston sort of catches him as he's trying to get pulled back up by his grandma, and I think some like yarn or something. And so there's a brief scene between Angelica Houston and the grandma, and Angelica Houston recognizes the grandma. They have some history. And
I want to know. I want a prequel to know what the hell their history is with each other.
In the remake, the history is that the witch, like in the remake, like Octavia Spencer's character, like she saw, it was Anne Hathaway, like the Grand High Witch that like killed her friend. She saw her like giving her friend like some chocolate from a distance, and Anne Hathaway like recognizes Octavia Spencer's face from when she was a kid.
Yeah, maybe if they had like mentioned that like the Grand High Witch killed her Erica, the little girl in the painting, or something like that.
I definitely was hoping to see like a magic duel a la Big Trouble in Little China, with like Victor Wong and James Hong. I wanted to see that with Angelica Houston and Mai Zetterling in this movie. I thought that would have been fun. We get a couple scenes with them, but I would have liked more. And they expand on that a little in the remake, which is nice. But yeah, I do agree with Casey. The pacing of this movie is a little slow until you get to the hotel, and it's better. I just think they needed the few set pieces that are here are great. Set piece scenes that are here are really memorable. It's just there's not a lot in between that. It's a lot of kind of lore. Here's the setup. Here's what witches are, and then it's okay. You turn into a mouse. Let's get the potion, and then it's like pretty much straight to the dinner scene. There's not a lot in between, You have some stuff with Angelica Houston and Bruno's parents, and she's kind of who are trying to schmooze with her, and she's just not having it, and it's it's entertaining, but.
I like I like that how easily his grandma is just accepting of him as a mouse, but then also she's a grown woman who believes in witches. Tells her son or her grandson this like it's fact. So I guess it's not too surprising.
And meanwhile, Rowan Atkinson is like, he's heard complaints about mice, and the grandma's like, yeah, why are there mice in this fucking hotel? And it's like threatening to like expose him or like call like the health department or whatever, and. So he gets some kind of guffaws from that, kind of those interactions. That's a really good Rowan Atkinson.
Thank you.
I do want to mention the Jim Henson mouse puppets, because they're pretty cool, and apparently there are like 3 different sizes. There were like huge like ones, probably for the close-up shots, and then like I think a medium-sized one and a smaller one. And Steve Whittier, the former Kermit, puppeteered the mouse version of Luke, and Don Austin puppeteered the mouse form of Bruno, and Austin was the in-suit performer of the Ghost of Christmas Present and Christmas Yet to Come in Muppets Christmas Carol. Fun fact. So that was cool. So I guess let's just jump to the climax.
And then I get to talk about my relationship with this movie.
Yeah, because this is a very, very memorable scene if you were a kid and saw this movie. The remake, it's pretty silly. In the remake, so the witches are drinking the soup, and they literally are just like explode into the air when they transform into mice. That's like what happens in this movie in the remake when they transform, is you shoot into the air and turn into a mouse, and that's what happens. So you have this dining room, and they're just like exploding like fireworks, turning into like mice. Like purple smoke shoots up. Not in this. This is pretty pretty disturbing.
Yeah.
So yeah, Luke gets the potion into the soup. A chef like cuts his tail. In the meantime, one of the chefs is actually a witch herself. There's a funny sequence where like a maid kind of finds one of the potions and puts it on her neck. She thinks it's perfume, and she grows mouse fur. And probably the best sequence with Rowan Atkinson, because he sees it and he's immediately turned off.
Hey man, sometimes women are people too. You know what I'm saying?
Casey, what did you think of the sequence at the end of the movie where they're all like turning into mice?
It was all right. Only one of them was interesting, so it was.
Yeah,
it was what it was. I was just waiting for the movie to end at this point.
Oh my gosh.
We gotta make a segment called kids movies Casey didn't grow up with, and in which we torture him with.
I mean, to be fair, Casey, how old were you when you first saw Nightmare on Elm Street?
5 or 6.
Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, see, that's like that's the thing. Most kids are not going to watch Nightmare on Elm Street when they're 5, and that's awesome that you did, Casey. Most kids, their parents aren't letting them get anywhere near that at 5. My parents are pretty lax. I don't remember exactly the first horror movie I saw. I know things like the Monster Squad were ones that had a big impact on me when I was younger and kind of helped segue me into like full-on horror stuff. But I don't know when I first saw like a Nightmare on Elm Street. Or something to that extent, that effect. It's like that's just pure straight horror. But I do think this movie serves as a good introduction for stuff like that, because there's some pretty scary imagery, and you guys are saying it feels like Peter Jackson light, as far as like Dead Alive and stuff like that. And this tell us about your experience with this sequence, Chris, when you were younger and seeing it now and.
Well, my first memory of this movie is seeing like the poster at the video store, because they had this like poster up on the wall. They had like the video store I went to when I was really little had this like wall of posters that they just like moved down the line as they would get older. So I remember this poster, and I remember being very disturbed by the witch's hand pointing at the mouse. I thought that was creepy as hell. And then when I finally saw this movie, I think I saw it on TV. And I saw it like later at night, and the whole just the concept of like a child being like trapped in a painting inside their parents' house, and you like push in on this like creepy painting of this girl who's like supposedly trapped in, and you hear like on the soundtrack you hear like in the distance her going "Papa, Papa," like that fucked me up real good.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I think that's kind of disturbing. And the fact that they just like, no one sees her move in the painting, but every time they come back to it, she's like in a different position and seems to like grow old. It's like that the parents must have really loved. I want like more details about that story. Like, were her parents like obsessed with this painting? Like, because essentially their child, when like guests came over where they were like, and this is our child trapped in this painting. Did it drive the mother insane to the point where she's like, we have to get rid of this painting, I can't stand it anymore, it's too fucking creepy? And the father's like, no, we can't get rid of the painting, it's our child in there.
Makes me,
there's a lot of questions I have.
There's got to be some sort of like, I was gonna say there needs to be some sort of like painting. I guess it would just have to be a digital painting, but like you could get where like there's someone in the image and like, but they constantly, like, every once in a while, they'll change position in the image. And so, like, if you have a guest over and they see the painting and they see something in the image, and the next time they look at it, the person in the background's in a different part of the painting. I don't know what I'm talking about. I was gonna say that'd be a fun gag if something like that existed, but it'd just be a digital painting, and that would be obvious. So I don't know.
You have in the new Haunted Mansion trailer the guy walking through and the painting's changing in the background.
Or you just get the great thing at the Magic Castle where you have the dude with the eyes that follows you around, which is great.
I'll ask you guys this, because Melody asked me while I was watching this movie. Would you rather be trapped in a painting the rest of your life, or turned into a mouse for the rest of your life?
Probably a mouse. I can
Okay.
do shit as a mouse.
It depends on my life in the painting. Like, what
Right,
do I get
that's
to
what I
do
was
in this
thinking.
painting? Like, how extensive
what
is
are they
the painting
experiencing?
world?
I mean, like, am I in a Frazetta painting? Then I'm in the fucking painting. Like, yeah.
Well, I'm assuming this woman, they said that sometimes she was there and sometimes she was not there, so maybe she got to leave the world of the painting. Maybe inside the painting world there's like a village somewhere.
They just wanted to explain her taking a shit, dude. That's why they said that.
So she can't leave the painting world. She is trapped inside this little like pond with a little cottage there.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how much can I enjoy myself in this painting world? Can I go to the bar and get a drink? Can I go on a date in this painting world? What can I do in this painting? You know, as a mouse, your options are limited. It is not as fun as they make it seem to be in this movie. Especially the remake. They make it seem a lot more, because in the remake they stick with the original ending. So, also Chris Rock narrates parts of the remake. He plays like the older mouse version of Luke that you don't see as a mouse until the end of the movie. Yeah, it's kind of a jarring shift from the opening of this movie. So yeah,
the painting you're trapped in, Zach, is The Nightmare by Henry Fuseli.
there is more of a showdown with the like Grand High Witch in the remake, because Anne Hathaway's character does not drink the soup, and there's like a scene in her. They go to like her hotel room to try and get the potions, and she shows up, and so there's a showdown with her and Grandma and the mice, and so that's interesting.
She doesn't turn into a mouse?
She does, yeah.
Oh, okay.
They end up getting her to drink it, but it's like a showdown that instead of like just all happening in the dining room scene.
They hold a gun to her head and say, "Drink this magic potion or I'll shoot you in the fucking head," which was a weird turn for a kids movie, but Robert Zemeckis is just going there now.
But yeah, so that was The Witches. Final ratings, final thoughts.
Yeah, I was also disturbed. by the transformation at the end when the witch, Angelica Houston's witch, is turning into this like not just a rat but like a grotesque witch version of a rat, and she's like screaming like, I mean, happy times.
So the ending in the 1990 version, which Roald Dahl had an issue with because it diverted from his ending, but Jim Henson was concerned about having Luke stay a mouse. And
Oh yeah, I remember reading Jim Henson's biography and him talking about just being very concerned and disappointed with the overall movie because of how fucking dark it was.
I didn't mind the tacked on. I guess it is tacked on because the Grand High Witch has like an assistant that is with her throughout the movie, and then she fires like right before the dining room scene. And so at the end of the movie, she kind of, I guess, becomes a good witch and turns Luke back into a human. It was a scene that I remembered specifically from the movie. I did not remember, you know what was weird? We didn't talk about it at all. The very opening of this movie, it's just going over some snow-covered mountains. Like, why?
I mean, I assume that's in like Germany or wherever they are.
I guess, but like, it's such a, it doesn't transition into anything. It's a very random opening. Anyway, I didn't mind the ending of this movie. It is, I guess, tacked on, but it didn't bother me in hindsight because it was something I always remembered. And I don't know, I feel like if he stayed a mouse, you know, they're still planning to go kill the witches. Now he's a human. I don't know. In the remake, he's like, Chris Rock is like giving like a seminar to a bunch of kids and like, you all got your potions, let's go kill these fucking witches. Like, that's the end of the movie, is somehow like giving a lecture to a bunch of kids about let's go kill some fucking witches. It's interesting.
Sounds like Everybody Hates Chris. The TV show.
Anyway, yeah, Casey, what was your rating, man? I know you didn't like this
I
movie.
gave it a 2. It was competently made, but I didn't enjoy it at all. It just wasn't for me.
That's fine. Yeah. Chris?
I don't know. I have sentimental feelings about this movie because I did watch it when I was really young and really liked it when I was young because it goes so hard. I don't know. I also just like the direction in this movie. I really like Nicholas Roeg as a director. This is probably his like most mainstream movie. He's kind of a weirdo director. I mean, The Man Who Fell to Earth doesn't make any fucking sense at all.
No.
And he wasn't just gonna say, you want to talk slow? That's a slow ass movie.
I have not
Yeah.
seen it, but David Bowie, man, you know.
Oh yeah, as much as I love David Bowie, that movie is just so damn slow. But Don't Look Now, I love, is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. That's like a very cerebral, dreamlike movie. Yeah, I don't know. I felt like I just liked the direction. There were a lot of like interesting camera angles, a lot of like really fun, weird shit. I mean, it's just like it definitely feels like a collaboration between just a lot of people I like. I mean, you've got Nicholas Roeg, you've got Jim Henson, Roald Dahl's like material, to work with, and it just feels like a very sort of unique concoction of these different artists, kind of like mixing in their stuff, and that's why I'm sure when it came out, a lot of people were just kind of like, this is like tonally all over the place, but I kind of like it for that. So I don't know, it didn't feel slow to me at all. I don't know, I feel like the movie's pretty short and it feels like it goes by fairly quickly usually every time I see it. The last time I watched it before this time was just a few years ago because I got the Warner Archives Blu-ray. And
It's not like it's only 90 minutes. The remake is 15 minutes longer, for the record.
No. Yeah, I don't have any interest in seeing that remake.
It's fine. It's fine. It's inoffensive.
Concept doesn't.
It's fine. Anne Hathaway gives it her all. I will say that.
I mean, the best stuff in the original movie to me is the makeup and the effects and the disturbing nature of which you just feel like the tactile, like elements of that, of like you like really feel the like goo and the smoke and the unpleasant stuff in the effects in this movie, and I'm fairly confident. I haven't seen it, but I'm fairly confident you don't get that with a lot of the CGI stuff in the remake.
Yeah.
So, I really like this movie. I can't remember if I gave it 3.5 or 4 last time I rated it, but somewhere up in there with me. And Angelica Houston is just really chewing the scenery.
Yeah. My rating is 3.5 too. I think for me, again, there just need to be a few more, like a little more conflict to the proceedings. It just feels too easy to defeat these witches because I think they have such a great introduction, and Angelica Houston is describing this really great master plan, and then they're defeated like 20 minutes later because their
plan is really stupid.
It is stupid, but it's such a grand introduction for like a big villain that you kind of want to see more from this villain. I wanted to see her do some more like dastardly things, and so from that kind of perspective, but I just think the novel it's a pretty straightforward story. There isn't that much more, and I think in the book that was left out from both adaptations. So yeah, it's good. It's a classic movie from my childhood. It was an interesting time when fantasy movies just weren't afraid to put really scary imagery in their their family movies. You had like Return into Oz, and you had things like Labyrinth and Never Ending Story and stuff like that. All had really kind of things that would fuck up kids.
Is what is your favorite Roald Dahl adaptation?
I mean, probably Willy Wonka. I mean, that's kind of.
Sure.
I mean, that's an easy one. I don't know. I mean,
It's hard to argue with Willy Wonka.
Matilda's a lot of fun.
I think Matilda. I was gonna say I proposed the question because I think Matilda is a like perfect adaptation of a book.
Did you see the musical one, by the way?
No, don't care.
It's pretty good. I mean, unless you really hate
it's okay.
musicals. I mean, I saw the musical in person. It's a great musical. It's really catchy music. It's pretty solid. It's not as good as the Danny DeVito movie, but it's not bad. It's some great performances in it.
Okay, if you haven't seen the Danny DeVito version in a long time, I think it holds up.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, Casey, is there any other Roald Dahl like adaptation that?
Nah, James and the Giant Peach. That
Yeah,
one's cool.
that's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
Actually
really
watched that
underrated
recently.
movie. I really like that movie. I feel like I like that more than a lot of people because it has some mixed. Some people really didn't get it, and I like love that movie as a kid. So that's a good
I
one.
like the movie. I just find the kid who plays James kind of annoying.
Oh, it didn't bother me. I don't know. I thought he was likable. I don't know. I love the ending. It's like him like these giant bugs living in New York. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just it was a fun movie. I need to rewatch that, and it's gorgeous. That's a good one, Casey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I like more of the visuals than anything else, but
Yeah.
the visuals carry it. Like it's worth seeing
It's a
just
really
for those.
gorgeous animated movie. Yeah. Live action hybrid animated movie. So yeah, 3.5 stars out of 5 for me. So that was our first entry in Witch Month. We'll find something a little
Less kid friendly.
yeah, not quite as obvious next time.
I feel like whatever we pick, it's going to be more obscure.
But yeah, no, I don't. I mean, this is fun to talk about, and if you want to hear us talk about more kind of family-friendly sort of scary movies, look at our Moonbeam Entertainment episode where we kind of dug into a few different movies that are pretty out there for family movies, and had some scary imagery as well. So I would say that's a good follow-up to this episode if you want more of this kind of stuff. But guys, I saw Renfield yesterday.
Nice.
Did you? I hate to say it, but I feel like I've seen too much of the movie in the trailers, so I feel like I've seen the movie already.
There's a lot of laughs you haven't seen, so you're good, and a lot of Nicolas Cage's performance. I mean, I haven't seen every single trailer, so I don't know. Nicolas Cage is so good in this, you guys. They recreate a lot of the like Bela Lugosi like classic. What is it, 1931? Dracula, like the moment where he's coming down the staircase, you get like that, like you get like they do some black and white shots where he's first meeting Nicholas Holt's Renfield, and dude, he looks so much like Bela Lugosi. It's scary. There's some fantastic makeups in this movie. Nicolas Cage is kind of in the beginning throughout the first like half of this movie. Nicholas Holt is like nursing him back to health because he was just like attacked by like a Van Helsing like type character and a priest, and so his like body's completely burned. So you see Nicholas Holt like he's trying to nurse him back to health and giving him victims and stuff, and so he's slowly kind of this makeup that's slowly progressing, and it just looks super grotesque. It's great. I don't really want to spoil too much for you guys. It's just a lot of fun. There's like a couple odd edits here and there. There's like a scene that clearly it seems like they cut out a scene because you cut from one thing to another thing, and clearly there was like a scene in between that they just trimmed for some reason that they shouldn't have. But outside of stuff like that, I really, really recommend this. I'd love to see like a series of Dracula movies with Nicolas Cage because he's so much fun here, and it'd just be interesting to see like Nicolas Cage as Dracula in like a Christopher Lee type series or something. It's never going to happen, but it would be cool because he's just phenomenal in this, and it'd be a shame if they just like leave this one performance and he never goes back to, because he's really, really good and effective, and it's funny and it's pretty hammy and over the top, but it's in like the best way possible. The crowd I was with was eating up like every line. Aquafina is fine. Her kind of subplot with the police force and everything like that could have been a little better. There's the whole thing with her sister, and one of the other like kind of antagonists in this movie are kind of a mob family that Ben Schwartz is kind of the leader of, or one of them, and he's pretty fun. So yeah, this was a good time. I really definitely recommend seeing it. It's fun movie to see in theaters. Very gory. There's some great like kind of Kingsman-esque action sequences that are just super over the top and pretty nasty. Some great practical makeups, which was really cool to see. So yeah, this Renfield, I think I gave it 3.5, mainly just because of some minor plot issues and things like that, and you know the stuff with the Awkwafina's kind of her side story could have been given a little more time, but everything with Nicolas Cage and Nicholas Holtz is fantastic. Really, really was pleased with this. So I think I gave it 3.5, but it was close to a 4. Really, really great. So check out Renfield. It's in theaters. It's an original movie. Please support original movies in theaters.
Don't tell me what to do. I want to go see D&D.
D&D is fun too. I watched that too. That's a good movie. All my
students fucking love it. Hey, that D&D movie is going to sustain my D&D class for a couple years probably. So
I recommend that as well. It's a very kind of, fantasy riff on the Guardians of the Galaxy formula. It's fun. Not as funny as Renfield, but it is funny. So yeah, some good stuff in theaters. I'm very excited for Evil Dead Rise. We have Ari Aster's new movie, which looks fucking bonkers. Sorry, I've been cursing a lot in this episode. I apologize, everybody.
To all of our nun fans.
I'm cursing a lot in the family-friendly episode.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can find an audio clip to use for this. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about, or should we just cut this short?
No, dude, I'm good. I'm good.
Does Renfield ever... Is there a reference to rats in Renfield?
Not rats. His thing in Renfield, so he eats bugs to get like his powers. That Dracula's given him a portion of his powers, and Dracula feeds off of blood, but Renfield needs bugs to kind of activate his like super strength and abilities. Which is
he's
weird.
drinking. He's essentially getting bug blood.
Yeah, so that's kind of his thing. They kind of explain it very quickly in a little voiceover, which is kind of fun. Really, see Renfield. It's great.
I do wish, though, that they had made this film in the 90s and had just cast Peter McNichol so he could reprise his role from Dracula Dead and Loving It. Because he is the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
As Renfield.
Dracula Dead and Loving It, available on Tubi, ready for you to watch.
with commercials.
Yeah, it's been kind of minor lately. I do want to say, speaking of Tubi, stay away from Wood Chipper Massacre. It's just a shittier version of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. There's no massacre. Fuck that movie. I watched it last night.
Okay, tell us about Fright House, Casey. You gave it 5 stars. You just told me to watch it, and you said it's like an hour long.
Oh, that's all I'm going to tell our listeners, too. It's 57 minutes. Has everything you would ever want from a movie starring Grandpa Al Lewis. Yeah, watch it. 57 minutes. It's basically another Spookies. It's like 2 movies grafted together or some shit. I don't know the whole story because the Blu-ray with all the behind-the-scenes shit is like super impossible to get because it was like a Vinegar Syndrome release through like an Indiegogo campaign or something. So, it is available to watch.
This clocked in at 110 minutes.
Yeah, it's not. There's more than one cut of the movie, allegedly, but this is the one that's available.
Are you guys going to pick up one of the 4K Creepshow sets from Scream Factory? I think it's Scream Factory.
Probably not.
I'm not a huge Creepshow fan.
I was going to get the fucking 4K House of a Thousand Corpses 20th Anniversary Edition, but the dumb shit made it just Blu-ray. Seriously? Seriously, Mr. Cummings? Is that what you're going to do?
Dumb shit.
You dumb shit?
Mr. Cummings.
There are witches in Fright House, right? Aren't there some witches? I feel like in the description it said there were witches.
Yeah. There are witches, all right. Yeah.
Okay, I need to watch this movie. All right. If you guys are listening, tell us what are your like kind of early memories of witches, or some of your like the first witch you recall seeing in like a movie or a TV show or a commercial. I'm curious. It's probably all going to be like Wizard of Oz or Hocus Pocus, but that's fine. Write us. Let us know on Instagram at AMP Horror, or Twitter also at AMP Horror, or write us at anothermishbowlpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube at Another Mishbowl Podcast or AMP Horror. It's the same handle everywhere.
If you've listened this long, Fright House is bad, but Grandpa Al Lewis is insane, and you have to watch it to see how insane he is. He plays, I can't even spoil what he plays. He's a police officer. Okay. I think he's the chief of police.
Okay. All right, everybody. So, Chris, where can they find you?
I am on the internet as Chris Pistol, Chris with a K and Pistol with a E, on the Letterboxd, on the Twitter, on the YouTube. I make YouTube videos. Check them out.
Yeah, have you done anything else with Can You Hear the Pod tonight, or is that...
We have an episode in the can. I just have to edit it at some point.
Okay. Stay tuned, everybody. Subscribe to Chris on YouTube. Casey, where can they find you?
At Lucha Gringo on Letterboxd, PSN, maybe Twitter. I'm thinking of getting rid of it. Twitter kind of sucks now. Yeah.
Dude, don't get rid of it unless you're going to join Instagram, because I can't follow anywhere else.
He has to continue his parasocial relationship with you, Casey.
Yeah, I mean, he can text me. He's got my number.
This is true. We do have a group thread. Okay. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram and Letterboxd at Earth2Zach, Earth2Zach, Z-A-K. Also, check out our website, anothermishbowlpodcast.com. You can stream all of our episodes there and find all the streaming services we're on. And if you enjoy our episodes, if you enjoy listening to us, hearing us talk about witches and movies Casey hates, please consider giving us a nice rating on Apple Podcast or Spotify or any streaming service that you listen to us on. That would really, really help us out. Okay. We'll be back soon at the end of the month with another episode about witches or some witch movie. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, some...
I feel like the theme this month feels so flat for some reason. I don't know why. I like witches. I think witches are cool. I want to see witches in more movies. I want to see a witch slasher.
I mean, I was 9 when I first saw The Blair Witch, and it kind of warped my perception of witches. I'll just say that.
Is Hereditary a witch movie? Question. It's like a cult movie.
Nah, it's more of a cult movie.
But are they witches or are they like demon like Satanists? Like
I think they're more demon worshippers.
Yeah. Honestly, Fright House, they're Satanists. They're not really witches.
Yeah, there's a fine line. Like Suspiria, they're witches. But there's.
I mean, I wouldn't say Satanists either. They're devil worshippers.
Yeah,
different.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful April, wonderful spring. Hope you had a fantastic Easter.